Hungary, as most other countries, is a class-based society with growing class inequalities. And these class inequalities are hugely important to understand political outcomes. And there are 2+1 classes that I pay special attention in the book, and also the internal divisions between those classes is what I call the working class in the book, how the industrialization and political neglect led to a rising neo-nationalism among workers, as their economic grievances were not addressed. There was no other progressive language, there was no class-based language among workers. So nationalism emerged as their dominant way of narrating their status loss during a transition. And this other class that I'm analyzing is the business class, and in particular the tensions between international capitalists and domestic capitalists. So the dominant class coalition that institutionalized what I call in the book the competition state after state socialism in the 90s in Hungary was transnational capital and technocratic managers in alliance mostly with liberal politicians, mostly on the left, but also the right participated in this, like when Fidesz was in power in 98 and 2002. But the policies, economic and social policies, all favored the capital accumulation of foreign investors, and was designed in a way to attract even more and more foreign investment to the country. And this generated a disillusionment and a growing anger among national capitalists who revolted also against this order. And I analyzed it in depth in the book how this is crucial. And the third is that politics also matters. So there were these changing class relations, the rising class tensions, and it's Viktor Orbán who took the opportunity to reorganize the dominant power bloc. And politics matters in three ways, and I show it in the book, is policy failures. So the lack of sufficient management of social tensions and the lack of a developmental state to avoid or at least reduce economic dualism between 1990 and 2010. The second is the deafness, the political deafness of the left to the economic anger of workers. And the third is the clever way in which Viktor Orbán reorganized hegemony and basically emancipated domestic capitalists and invited them basically into the dominant power bloc, but didn't kick transnational capital out. So it's national politicians, national capital, and transnational corporations that formed the power bloc after 2010 in Hungary. And the result is an authoritarian capitalism and an accumulative state that, as you're summarized, and I analyze it in depth in the last chapter of the book, is not a developmental state. So it fails to reduce the productivity differences between transnational and domestic capital. And in fact, it erodes those capacities that would be needed for long-term development, such as education, such as innovation capacities, and most importantly, the bureaucratic capacities of the state. They are completely subjugated to the logic of the dominant power bloc, politicians, but also the economic elites. And it creates huge social tensions. So there's a massive redistribution upwards to the political class, to national and transnational capital, and growing wealth and income inequalities. And these inequalities are managed by authoritarian fixes. Institutional authoritarianism is basically tilting the playing field in favor of Fidesz, and the kind of authoritarian populism that I briefly describe also in the last chapter, which is basically designed to reframe these social and economic tensions in cultural conflicts and generate new moral and cultural hierarchies so as to divide the losers and attract some of the working class voters still into the orbit of of this dominant power coalition. So very briefly, this is the summary of the book.